So I'm going to welcome to the stage Chris Punzalan, Head of Innovation and Strategy of World Vision Canada, and moderator Moshe Mikanovsky, founder and head coach, Products for Good. Give them a hand. Who should no presentation, right? You're just going to chat, which is cool. So the topic right now you're going to share with us is transitioning from a fundraising organization to a product-centric organization, is what I understand. And you're going to teach us a little bit of how to leverage innovation, technology, and human-centered design to create new ways for people to engage with generosity and make a tangible impact. We ended yesterday with the conversation around empathy and really kind of it being practical and not something that is just done for the sake of it or gets in the way. So welcome to the stage, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So are you saying I should have been here yesterday to hear that part?
You should have probably, but that's okay. We welcome everybody.
I took some notes.
You took notes? Okay, you can help me out there for sure.
Region of Peel.
So thank you again to Mark. I wish all my past bosses would have heard this and give me the opportunity to do things that I could have done. Otherwise, I won't have to be a self-employed these days. So another round of applause to that. I think it was very, very insightful. So just by way of introduction, my name is Moshe, and as mentioned, I'm founder of Products for Good. It used to be a social initiative, but I had to make some money, so I incorporated it actually. What I'm doing is helping founders avoid costly product mistakes so they can make more good in the world. And a lot of the founders that I'm working with throughout different incubators and accelerators in the GTA are building products for the public sector. So I'm always interested to meet more people, make more connections, help them, help you, etc. But this is not about me. This is about you, Chris.
But it's funny, I think when we did chat, I was like, maybe Moshe should do the talk instead of me. So
maybe next year. Tell us, Chris, about yourself. How did you get to the journey today where you are at World Vision?
For sure. First off, good morning, everybody. It's been, I work fully remote, so seeing a bunch of beautiful faces in person actually is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And I'm wearing a tie. I don't see anyone else wearing a tie, so I think I've got to re-up my game in terms of
Can you give you a minute to take a read?
I'll do that afterwards. I've actually worked in the Ontario Public Service for 18 years. Anybody work in the OPS today? Oh, I'm going to be careful with what I say. I've been a people leader for 15 years. I've worked in various ministries, various places within government. Wonderful time in the OPS. I think I've learned so much, jumped around quite a bit. My last 5 years was at Cabinet Office. So Cabinet Office, the main governing body of the Ontario Public Service. I worked in the communications branch. So for some reason, software engineer in communications, but learned quite a lot again. And I was there during the pandemic, there during all of the craziness, and whenever Premier Doug wanted something up and running, our team was responsible for all of that side. So. A lot of time at the government. I think during the pandemic and a little bit afterwards, I had a little bit of self-reflection and said, ooh, maybe I should be doing something else and not just building digital products just because my boss says I had to. So did a little bit of reflection, talked to my boss at home, and then did, I think what some people do, clicked on that LinkedIn Premium because it was a free trial, clicked it, and then I think the first or second, maybe the second posting that was there was this wonderful position at World Vision for head of digital platform. So I applied and was able to get there. So yeah, that's my little bit of a life story in terms of my career.
Amazing. So that life story or that transition that you made, how did that impacted what you're building now? And in general, the topic of our discussion, moving from fundraising organizations to product centers. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, thank you. So as I said, I'm a software engineer that did not like user experience whatsoever. So I don't know why they've invited me to talk. No, I'm just joking. So yeah, software engineer, as I think Mark was as well. And really my primary focus was just to build. I love to build anything and get products and applications out the door. But my time in Cabinet Office was a time when a little group called Ontario Digital Service started up. Unfortunately, they're disbanded now, or they've been consolidated across government. And it really opened my eyes to the design principles. So user experience, user interface design, research. But my real, I think, conversion from just not caring about customers or users really happened at World Vision. Mm-hmm. And we really had to focus or change the way that we approach our business. As you can imagine, donors are not donating at the same clip. The economy's changed. The pandemic has definitely changed something. So we had to come up with new and better ways to be more engaging with folks. So that's really I am. So again, software engineer, but really decided, I think, the bread and butter of us really reaching and having impact is through better user design, customer experience for sure.
That's really interesting for me because my background is completely different, coming from for-profits and small organizations. And over there, I was always very close to the users. Mm-hmm. So even though I was started as a developer, I didn't even have user interfaces abilities back then. I won't tell you how old I am. I gained that empathy that we were talking about yesterday about the users and what is it that they really have trouble with, right, and created the right solutions for them. So maybe as a side note over here, and maybe to some people also in the audience, maybe this will come as a question. Do you find that working in government environment, in public environment, kind of doesn't allow you to have this direct interaction with users, and therefore you don't really build that empathy?
It's a great question. I think there was a question about accessibility, right? So we have to build in government for all, and then obviously the French language services as well in Ontario. I think for me, and the reason why I said my eyes are a little bit more wide open at World Vision, is when we were thinking about UX and UI from a government perspective, it was really more about the everyday Ontarian accessing our digital products. But again, because we had to be very wide and very accessible, we couldn't be hyper-focused. Mm-hmm. At World Vision, we are hyper-focused. So we are trying to reach not only the donors that we have in our little world now, but also expand that box to typical non-donors. And how do we reach them? How do we reach high school kids? Or not high school kids, I apologize, university students? How do we reach certain segments that we've never done before? So we have to be diligent in understanding what those users need from us, or what that engagement relationship could be, so that we can build the best products for them. Mm-hmm. You don't really typically hear a charity talk about products, actually, right? We're really just a fundraising arm. I know we're a little bit more of like a donation box, right? And our focus, for the most part, is really about having marketing and campaigns and driving people to these donation boxes. So we're trying to understand how we can convert from behavioral insights or that kind of way. But with the change from, again, the donation box to product-centric, we're really trying to build not just a one-way interaction with donors. It's now we're hoping to build a long-lasting relationship with our donors and actually building products that have a value proposition for them.
Mm-hmm. So we're already touching here on the differences between fundraising organizations to product-centric. Are there more differences that you can highlight, or that's the main one?
Yeah, I wish the VP of products was here, because he'd probably give a better answer than I do. But I touched on it a little bit, right? We have been, for many, many years, tugging at the heartstrings and really having this donation box for Canadians. And we focused on child sponsorship and Raw Hope and international aid. But our marketing and our campaigns were really directed at trying to bring awareness and people into that particular donation box. Whereas what we're trying to do is really focus on, again, how do we reach more Canadians with products that they will have a tangible engagement with or value that we have. So I think that's the main difference here. We have, yes, a cash box, donation box, but now we have products that serve multiple functions and hit different people at different value props.
So give me some examples. What type of products are we talking about? And also, who are the consumers or users of those products? Are these the donors or the people that are receiving the aid?
Oh, good question. So it's actually both, right? Mm-hmm. So we have different products now that appeal to different Canadians in different stages. I don't know if you guys want to go through a whole exercise on that, but so yeah, there are products like I said, child sponsorship, which is typically $45 a month, and then we'll do everything in terms of community, water sanitation, education, all of the great stuff that World Vision does for the most vulnerable girls and boys. Mm-hmm. But now we're focusing on maybe Canadians want more. They might want a transparency product or a play where they can see more stories and engagement points with our children in the field or the communities that we touch. We might create products that service our field offices to make it more effective from them from an efficiency and optimization perspective. Mm-hmm. So again, the way that World Vision is now operating is really trying to get away from that old school donation box and just focus on marketing campaign. Of course, you're going to have to do that still as a charity, but can we bring value in the products that we bring or that we produce going forward?
So the value is mostly to the donors, but also...
Yeah, but again, the value is multi-sided, right? So right. If Moshe, if we touched you in the right way in terms of your heart and your mind, and you decided to give your hard-earned money to the most vulnerable, that's awesome, but there's value also on the other side of that equation too. Mm-hmm.
I don't want to put anyone here on the spot, but does anyone have a product in mind of World Vision that maybe you are sponsoring? Anyone?
Well, I know there's one person, but I'm not going to say it. Okay. She's a colleague of mine.
No worries, no worries.
It's all good.
Yeah. Okay, good. So now let's move into, the transition.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about the differences and what type of value you're creating, but the transition is not easy.
Oh, yeah.
So what does it take to move, especially for a size of organization? I'm sure World Vision is the largest not-for-profit in Canada, right?
Yeah, no,
right?
Great question, Moshe. World Vision is, if not the largest charity in Canada. We bring the most funds to the field. I think we've hit about $550 million to the most vulnerable girls and boys in the most fragile contexts. So yeah, quite large. I think we have 450 in terms of personnel or staff across Canada and actually internationally as well. So a change like going from fundraising to product development and product understanding is quite difficult, as you can imagine. It doesn't happen overnight. So I think I can flag a couple of things for how our organization has started to transition. One is we've adopted the agile kind of mindset and methodology. So that's one thing. That's taken quite some time for our teams to work cross-functionally, understand 2-week sprints, understand deliverables and activities. Our team is still struggling with that every so often, but I have a different take on that, which I won't touch on right now. So yeah, agile is a way for us to be a little bit more flexible in the way that we design our products going forward. If something's not working, we can pivot, we can move. The second thing is there's a hyper focus on design. So we've hired a head of design for the last, I think, 3 years, something that, again, you don't typically think a charity would actually execute on or hire for. This individual is entirely focused on how do we do brand more effectively? How do we do user research more effectively across the board? How do we design our products that reach the most, that have the most value back and forth? So that was a big change for us where nobody really cared too much about design or user research or secondary research. So there's been a big emphasis on that. I credit my team for really putting that forward on the team that we work on. I think the two other big things in terms of the commitment our organization has had towards product centric is we actually have a ministry function called strategy and innovation. So I'm the head of innovation. I have a VP that's the lead for strategy and innovation. Having those two tied together is really important. Mm-hmm. And then we now have a full ministry function products. So we have a VP of products that's focused on, again, delivering the most good and delivering the most value for our donors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I did mention earlier that coming from for-profit, I was lucky to be next to users.
Right.
It doesn't mean that we always build what the users wanted. So, there is no shortcut over there. You really need to, have a great organization that move towards that mindful thinking about the users and user-centric. And agile, you mentioned agile transformation. That definitely is a complex thing. Yeah. Also in the for-profit world. Maybe here by show of hands, how many of you have gone through agile transformation in your organization? 1, 2, 3. So a few hands are coming up. All the rest have not gone through it yet, or you already, when you joined the organization, it was already agile? Some of you? Yeah. How many of you think it was successful? Yeah? Okay, so not all the hands, but some of the hands. Agile is actually very hard, and part of it is also because it's really a mindset more than anything, and many people are doing it more of a process. Right. Here is what you have to do, rather than here is what you have to think.
Yeah, what are you delivering? And I think that's a key thing that we've been trying to stress to all staff going forward. You did mention user-centered design, right? So it's not only one thing to have the structure and the disciplines in play, but you need to adopt those principles, right? So we are very keen on developing user personas and jobs to be done and focusing on the pain points and motivation of our donors and our potential new acquisitions as well. So yeah, user-centered is definitely at the heart of what we do.
Yeah, and if anyone don't know some of those terms, please ask them in the QA at the end. Because of that complexity of moving towards that, and I've seen it again and again in different organizations, what would you say the number one, you mentioned a few things, but the number one thing that helps you really move the needle there?
That's a tough question. I'm struggling with that right now as well too. I think as most folks are when they're trying to socialize big change across the organization. I think one of the things that I've tried to do is be as clear and open lines of communication on why we're trying to do this. I'm a very visual leader, so I will create roadmaps and I would create opportunities for people to question and see themselves in what we're trying to do, right? So it's a difficult thing to do. I think socialization, being positive about that change, being an ambassador or an advocate for that is something I strive to do. But I'm not perfect at it. I think there's a lot of work that we still need to do at World Vision for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I many times I see it as both combination of what we call hard skill and soft skills.
Yeah, for sure.
Soft skill is probably not the right, because they are harder to achieve than other skills, but they are sometimes even more important than the hard skills.
Yeah, there's definitely a gap in the skills in moving towards more customer-centric, more user design. One of the things that we've done recently is we've talked to our product owners and our designers, and we found out that there's not much of a love for research. And we're like, oh, that's interesting. How do we get people to understand the value of doing secondary research to build your assumptions and hypotheses? So that is a constant struggle as we kind of mature in our organization.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, interesting. Maturing is an interesting word as well, because you want to mature on one hand, but you also want to have that inherent, almost like a startup type of
sure.
Persona to your users that are trying different things, not to the users, to your
to our organization.
The organization. Is that something that you see a balance act?
Yeah, it was funny when I first joined World Vision. My boss said, "Don't talk to anybody in the core of World Vision, right? Because they are a hindrance to innovation." They're a hindrance to, because again, we're very stuck in large organizations in what we do best and where we want to go with that. And so now as head of innovation, my role really is to kind of unlock those radical and incremental innovations within the core of World Vision, and to kind of build that startup mentality, that mindset, that when we're building products first against, and you and I talked about the Strategizer series. Has anybody read the Strategizer series at all? It's more on innovation, no? It's a good book or a good series. I encourage you guys to read that. But part of that education for me, Moshe, was how do we deal with our confidence level on the desirability of the products we have, the feasibility of it, and the viability of it. There's also adaptability as well. So our focus now, as with that startup mentality, is really how do we have the right user personas and pain points and have a right product market fit, and then with that information, equip us to do experimentation on desirability, feasibility, and viability going forward.
Let's talk a bit about that, because that also ties into empathy, and it also ties into some of the things Mark mentioned before about enabling your teams to do the work, and empowering them to actually do research and speak with users. What directions did they take in order to do that, to actually listen to users?
Yeah,
and
we've been,
them?
I think before I've been here, or at World Vision, I think we were all over the place. It's funny that Mark mentioned The Bear. It's a wonderful show. Our team uses opening up a restaurant as an analogy to building products, right? So if you're going to open up a restaurant, you need to know the competitive landscape around you. You kind of need to know what kind of cuisine folks want to do, who are your patrons in particular. So we've used this analogy to kind of like level set the teams across the org, and really understand why experimenting with different types of plates will determine your menu set. And then maybe you do a, one of those pop-up kitchens to kind of test the reality or the desirability of your work. So, yeah, we're starting. Again, we're not the best at it. I think we're maturing and growing in that regard. But yeah, things like that, having a right operational framework, has really been key for us to kind of socialize this going forward.
So, for anyone here, if they would ask, what's the first step we have to do in order to move from our fundraising or non-product centric, because not everyone here in the fundraising mode, but you may get money from the government and you just build what you're told to build, right? What would be the first steps there?
You're putting me on the spot. I don't know. I don't think I have a good enough answer for that one. I think I've been very fortunate that I've had the COO who I reported to was a very amazing individual, great human being, but he understood that we needed to change. There was an appetite to kind of move. And so he's asked me and a couple of others in the organization, like, how do we drive that culture shift, that culture shift towards innovation? And I think our team, our little small, 14, 15 people on the innovation side, we've been really focused on, again, what are those opportunities to show value to the organization? Again, we are in a different maturity set than the rest of other pockets in the organization. I think we're doing a better job than most. But how can we build that level of understanding and show value so that people are saying, oh, that's actually pretty cool what they're doing? So the first 2 months of my existence on the innovation side, nobody knew what we were trying to do. But we're starting to see a little progress and a little bit more communication and effectiveness in getting what we're trying to do from a value prop perspective, how we're trying to touch and reach customers and donors at a high clip. So yeah, small baby steps, to be honest.
And I think what you also said highlights the importance of both top-down and bottom-up.
Yeah.
So maybe one way is to replace your management, but I don't know if that's feasible. But if you have, this struggle from within, and there are ways, some flexibility to create some experiments internally and show some value, and create being an entrepreneur it's
that's great.
entrepreneurship within the
Yes,
organization, then that maybe can show and can make a shift with the organization.
Absolutely.
But we definitely need support from above.
Yeah.
So that's always like that balance
For
sometimes.
sure. We're always changing our approaches too. So I don't think we found the magic sauce as of yet, but eventually, hopefully, we'll get there.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. Now, my last question is, how do you see innovation being central to strategy in the public sector and non-for-profit? And is it different from the
Private. Yeah. Working in government, I was always cognizant of taxpayer money, but we did spend it, right? It's not like we didn't. But as a leader at World Vision, I'm super cognizant of wasting donor money that could go to the field and help the most vulnerable girls and boys in the world. So that's a big change for me. That's a little different change from public sector to nonprofit. I can imagine, and I've had many conversations with private sector innovators as well, they sometimes don't have a budget cap, right? They're able to execute at a high clip. They're able to do user interviews like a dozen at a time versus us like 3. So there is a different change. We have to be a little bit more agile. We got to be a little bit more nimble. We got to call BS when we see it and kill, pivot, and persevere with our approaches. But yeah, that's the big change. The money is definitely a big change from public sector, I think, to private sector.
If anything, innovation can be even more important for you to be more nimble and
Absolutely.
be more agile.
Yeah.
So it's just make it a stronger case for innovation.
For sure.
Excellent. Questions?
We always take a little bit of time to warm up on the question.
Yes, here we go, right there.
We're gonna,
We have one here and a few there, so I think they're...
this gentleman always gets the first one. He's the closest to the mic all day. And then we have another mic over here. Go ahead.
One of the things I wanted to just ask you a question. With innovation, there's also risk that occurs. So I'm just wondering, how do you manage the risk while being innovative at the same time?
That's a wonderful question. I think my first thing is read the Strategizer series. I think it's a pretty cool Strategizer series. It's been kind of like my little framework on how we understand where we need to go. So we have what's called an innovation pipeline. It's articulated in the framework. Unfortunately, the book isn't great at operationalizing that world. So we've had to do a little bit of adjustments at World Vision. The core concept of what we're trying to do is when we bring ideas into the pipeline, we're trying to understand the expected return on our investment and then our confidence level on whether or not that idea or approach is going to be successful. So we want to understand, and I said this earlier, the desirability of those products and then the feasibility and viability. The more experimentation and research that we do to help pinpoint and answer our confidence levels for that reduces the risk of when we go live or when we go full out. So experimentation is a big thing for us. We don't want to create and spend, like $200,000 on a digital product that nobody wants. So we've been very keen to prove desirability first before we move on to those other key confidence levels.
And that's actually one of the biggest pitfalls of how people implement agility, when they don't do experimentation,
Right.
and they just build fast, but they don't really validate it fast. Another series of books that is really good is by Marty Kagan from Silicon Valley Product Group, SVPG. It's also available on his blog. Inspired, Empowered, Transformed, these are 3 books. So in addition to Strategizer's books, these are excellent suggestions.
What I would add to that is the pitfall of building fast comes into play a little bit of that lean thinking about plan, do, check, act, right? So you might want to build fast, but you want to build a little bit smaller. You want to build it progressively. You want to check as you're going.
Absolutely.
And that's that agile mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
And a little bit of that theory yesterday we talked about failing fast and often, right? So that you can learn and check and put back that effort and that learning back into what you're doing. So innovation is all about try it out. Don't be afraid. And I think the thing about innovation is you can't be afraid. You gotta kind of go for it. Okay, right here.
I'm just curious to know the shift from fundraising to product-centric. Like, are you ready to say it's been successful? And if so, how are you measuring?
Yes.
Or like,
Is anyone from
you...
World Vision here? Yes, we are super successful.
I'm just curious to know kind of what your metrics are, your measurements, so that you can say it's going okay.
Yeah. Again, we're going through a crazy season of change at World Vision, right? And again, I talked a little about the economy and our changing donor, our habits there. I wouldn't say we're at our peak yet. But I think we've invested enough to see some progress and some return on investment on our technical acquisitions or our capital investments, the personnel that we're trying to hire. We're definitely, I think, in a better boat than we were 2-3 years ago. And the products that we're starting to see are really focused on, again, bringing that engagement to our donors, because again, it's been only really one-sided. Please give us money so that we could do better with your money. That's not the case anymore. Please be partners with us so that we could do the most for the most vulnerable girls and boys. And so I think that's our approach. We are seeing some success, but I wouldn't say we're there as of yet. I hope that's a fair answer.
Would you offer to that question that you still need the fundraising? So the idea
Absolutely.
isn't an either or. It's not, one or the other,
Yep.
but your value set and how you make decisions around how you get to your end goal and your vision.
Yeah, so
starts
I know we're out of time, but just understanding the user or the donor, right? Again, we'll build a better product for them, but that also is used for marketing and campaigns. So what were their motivations? What are their pain points? What are their behaviors? I think that's really been key for our team going forward, or our organization.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, there is numerous examples of companies that are really successful going that way, and those books are actually mentioning those examples. And also, I think the fundraising changes from an outcome, like in the past, it was an outcome. We just need to
we just
raise
need more
funds.
money. Yeah.
To the outcome is really to help the vulnerable, boys and girls, and to help the people that want to help them. And fundraising is one of the output of that process. So changing the mindset to an outcome mindset is also very helpful with that. And I'm sure even not working for World Vision that they're on the right way.
Moshe, Chris, thank you very much for your
Thank
insights
you.
today.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.